Hi friends, it's Lauren. Thanks for joining me in my craft room today for a Fandom Friday video. I'm going to be featuring a brand new stamp set from Kindred Stamps called Pocket Witches, which is a kind of nod to a very nostalgic toy that I used to play with when I was a kid. And it incorporates our three favorite witchy sisters. So I'm going to start with coloring. For the card that I'm going to be featuring in today's video, I'm just going to use these three witch toys in color. So I stamped them on an alcohol marker friendly white cardstock, and I stamped them with my Ink on 3 Blackout Hybrid ink, which is one of my go-tos for alcohol marker coloring. And I'm going to be featuring Ohuhu art markers today. I'm using the Honolulu B, which have a brush and a kind of nib tip on each side. So those are the caps that you'll see on screen today. If you're not interested in coloring, I have the chapters in my videos like I try to do, especially when I have long sections of coloring, so you can go ahead and skip forward if you would like. I also will show a card at the end, my second card that I made with this stamp set, where I did color in the actual pocket toy. It was just a lot of coloring, and I thought the more important thing I wanted to show you was how I colored these three witchy sisters in, so that's what I left in for the video today. So while I'm coloring, as usual, I am trying to stay with two shades a color. Sometimes I do one, sometimes I do three. It just kind of depends on my color availability with Ohuhu markers. But I will do a lot of one and two. So pretty easy, I think, to color these tiny little images. You could really just go with one, especially because they are generally like painted in a one color. There's not a lot of depth to them, so you can definitely stick with just one color for each of the areas on these little dolls. But I did use sometimes 2 to 3 shades, just depending again on what I have available, how much space I have to color, and if I want a little bit of shadow on part of the images. So for the face, there were 3 colors. For the hair, there's at least 2. I will say my last witch, the redhead, I used 4 colors. But that's just because I was trying to get the right kind of red hair for her. But everything else, like the clothes, it's 1 color, maybe 2. Again, depends on the shades of the marker colors that I have. So while I'm coloring, I thought we'd do a little color and chat, catch up. I hope everyone is doing well. It's hard to believe that when this goes up, we will already be halfway through September. This year is flying by. Once we hit October, I feel like all of a sudden it's the new year. My birthday's in October, so I think from like the beginning of October through the holidays, it just feels like a blur. But I'm really excited to not have any more travel this month. There's a lot of fun things going on that I'm participating in this month. Some new releases, like today for Kindred Stamps. I'll have a new release later this month with Miss Ink, another release later this month with Trinity Stamps. So a lot of fun things coming, especially now with like Halloween releases, which is always the best time of year. And then we'll get into some fall and Christmas releases. So I'm really excited. I don't really do full releases for anyone anymore, but I'll do a couple things here and there. So a lot of fun things happening this month. I will have to travel a couple times in October, but it's starting to slow down, which I'm really grateful for. But the class that I taught for Pretty Pink Posh earlier this month was so much fun. I was super duper nervous, like very nervous. The most people I've ever taught live in a class is like 10 people. So having, I think it was like 55 people was a lot, but I think it went really well. I think everyone had a really good time, liked the cards, liked the class. So that really brought me a lot of joy and gives me the confidence to maybe do it again one day. Maybe. So while I'm coloring these images, I did bring in a gold pen. This is an essential gel pen from Pear Blossom Press, and I wanted to add a little bit of gold details to a couple of the dresses because they do have kind of a yellow or gold look to them. But it's really hard to bring in a lot of different colors on a little tiny doll image, so I just used a gold gel pen to bring in some of that yellow and gold for the images. I'm about to finish up coloring the last bit of hair here, so after that I will go ahead and fussy cut out all of these little images. They're so teeny tiny, it was pretty easy to fussy cut them out. You could use a scan and cut as well, but I didn't think it took too much time to cut these 3 little witchy toys out. To build my background, we're going to go pretty simple. I thought it'd be fun to have a tone-on-tone kind of subtle background and then have these 3 witches really just pop off the card because they're so colorful and fun. So I'm bringing in a pattern paper from the Holiday Town paper pack from Kindred Stamps, this black and white stripe paper, and I'm going to trim it down to be A2 in size, which is 4¼ by 5½ inches. And then I'm going to trim this lavender cardstock to the same size, A2, but I'm going to die cut it with the large rectangle from the Card Basics die set, which will cut my card or this panel down to 4 by 5¼ and I'm going to layer that onto the pattern paper once I'm done stamping. So I'm going to bring out the large star pocket toy that these little dolls will live in, and I'm going to again do a tone-on-tone look. So it's a really large image. It fits perfectly in this this die cut rectangle, the Card Basics die set. So I'm going to get that centered on the purple cardstock, and I'm going to grab my Tranquil ink pad from Catherine Pooler. It's actually a very pale blue, but when it stamps on this lavender cardstock, it gives a just a little bit deeper lavender color. The way this blue sits on this paper is really pretty. It gives it a really nice tone-on-tone look. I did stamp it twice because it's a very pale blue color, so I wanted to make sure you can still see it in that background, and it looks really pretty. I love the tone-on-tone look. Once I'm done with that, that's really going to be the bulk of my background. So I'm going to add a little bit of shading by bringing in a blending brush and adding a little bit of the color to the edges of the paper. And then I also use the ink pad directly on the edge just to darken it up a little more. I'm going to go ahead and use some liquid adhesive to glue this panel to the pattern paper. I thought about popping it up, but I'm going to keep this card pretty simple and just going to pop up my little witches onto the front of the card. If you are not a dimension person, you can just glue them right down and have a really cute flat card. But I will end up popping these up with a thinner 1mm foam adhesive. But before I do that, I want to add my sentiment. There are so many adorable sentiments in this stamp set. And I'm going to go with the one that says pocket size spooks heading your way, which I thought was perfect. And I'm going to have it overlap with more of the bottom part of the star pocket toy. So I'm getting everything lined up, making sure it looks centered. I'm going to grab my Misty and I'm going to stamp it with my Onyx Black VersaFine Pigment ink, just so it really pops off the card. I thought about using another purple color, but I thought with the pattern paper and the images outlined in black ink that a black sentiment would fit just perfectly. So I went ahead and stamped it. Usually I get a pretty clean stamp with just one stamp, but with the magic of a Misty, I can stamp it twice. And now I'll go ahead and grab that foam adhesive and we'll get these witches added onto the front of the card. I like this order of the witches. We have our eldest sister here in the middle and then our 2 witches on next to her. So again, this is a 1mm. It's a pretty thin foam adhesive from scrapbook.com. I love these little strips. I mean, it's easy to double up with them. You could do, they're 1/8 of an inch, but I like it in 1/4 inch form. So I usually grab 2 strips at a time. And I'm just adding a little bit of foam adhesive behind each of the witches, peeling off the release paper, and then adding them to the card. I want my center witch to be more in front, so I'm tucking my other 2 witches behind her. She has that type of ego personality, and I want to make sure that shows on the card. To add a little more to the card, I'm grabbing my Kindred Spirit enamel dots, and there's kind of this grayish lavender purple, which really just matched everything on the card, so they really were perfect. And I have a top folding A2 card base, so I'll go ahead and grab my adhesive again. Sorry, I'm like totally off camera here, but adding glue to the back of this panel, and I'm going to just attach that right to the panel or to the card base. It is an A2 card panel, so it covers the front of the card perfectly. And that will finish off this little pocket-sized card. Again, I love the tone-on-tone in the background, and then my 3 witches really just pop off the card, and then a couple other subtle things like the enamel dots. Here's a look at the second card I created. I realized I never colored in my moon while I was editing this video, but it is a light up card. I used a one light to light up the window, and it does actually have purple vellum there. I wanted it to give the vibe that it was a black flame candle being lit. And then I realized that my background needed a little bit more, so I might add some splatter. This card might get a little bit of a makeover before it gets sent to anyone, but let me know what you think of this stamp set. Are you going to get it? Check out all of the new releases. I have that linked in my description. There's a couple other stamp sets that I'm going to be buying, so let me know what you snag in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll click like, and if you're new here, I hope you'll subscribe and come back. As always, you can find everything I use down below in the description box. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye!